Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about breaking down really big ideas, and today we have got a fascinating one for you. All right, let's just jump right in with the question that, really gets to the core of who we think we are. I mean, are you really in control of the choices you make every day?
For the longest time, we've been taught to see our minds as these super logical computers, right? We take in data, we weigh the pros and cons, and then we spit out the right decision. It's a nice, clean model, very appealing.
But what if that whole model isn't just a little bit off? What if it's actually, holding us back? The source material for this explainer puts it pretty bluntly. Pretending we need to be reasonable all the time, it just hasn't helped us live better lives. So, yeah, I think it's time for a totally different way of looking at things.
Okay, so first up, let's dive into this huge idea that the new theory completely challenges. We're talking about the rationality myth.
So, we've all got this image in our heads, right? The perfectly logical, unemotional mind. Think Mr. Spock from Star Trek. That's the myth, that we can and should be like that to make the best decisions. But here's the reality check from the theory we're digging into today. What we call being rational, it's actually just another flavor of emotion. It's a kind of low-level emotionality. I mean, think about it. Even the desire to be logical, that's an emotional commitment right there.
So, who's behind this whole new way of thinking? Well, let's introduce our guide for all this, Dr. Michael Lukens.
So, Dr. Michael Lukens, he's a clinical psychologist and emotions theorist, and he's the author of a book called The Physics of Emotioning. His whole thing is this really unique constructivist view. Basically, that means we're not just passive observers of reality, we're actively building it. And this isn't just some abstract academic idea. It comes directly from his hands-on work with people, specializing in really tough areas like addiction, trauma resolution, and repairing relationships. It's all about challenging that old, clunky mind as a computer model.
All right, so if our minds aren't computers, what's running the show? Well, it's a fundamental force, a process he calls emotioning.
Now, this is super important. When we say emotioning, we're not just talking about feelings, being happy, sad, angry. Nope, this is something much deeper. It's the fundamental unseen force that moves us. It's the process where the meaning something has for us gets tangled up with the action we take. You could say it's the engine that drives literally all of our willful behavior.
And there's this fantastic analogy in the book that really makes it click. We all know how gravity works, right? A massive object like the sun literally curves the fabric of space, and that's what pulls planets in. Well, emotioning does the same thing to our psychological space. Things that have huge personal meaning for us, they act like massive objects. They literally warp our world, creating this incredible pull we call motivation.
And it all gets boiled down to this really elegant little formula. Emotioning is a function of meaning and action. It's that simple. The more meaning something has for you, the stronger the pull is to act on it. Makes sense, right?
Okay, so to make this idea even more concrete, let's grab onto this powerful metaphor the theory uses. It's called your tilted cookie sheet.
Okay, picture this. Your mind is a cookie sheet, and you've got a little marble you're about to roll. If the sheet were perfectly flat, it feels like you could roll that marble in any direction, right? That feeling, that's what we call free will. But here's the catch. The cookie sheet is never perfectly flat. It's always tilted, just a little, by your biases, your preferences, your past, and by the sheer weight of meaning certain things have for you. So your choice, it's just the direction that marble was always going to roll. And that whole process of thinking it over, that's often just the story you tell yourself after the marble's already halfway down the sheet.
Okay, so if our actions are kind of determined like this, if we're just marbles rolling on a tilted sheet, what does a theory that sounds so, mechanical, like the physics of emotioning, have to say about something as profound and messy and human as, love?
Well, it turns out it has a lot to say. In this framework, love isn't just some vague feeling. It's a very specific kind of emotioning. Dr. Lukens has a name for it, Committed Benevolent Interest, or CBI for short. And get this, he argues it's not just a nice feeling, it's a fundamental biopsychological necessity. It's actually the bedrock of our moral development.
So let's break down what CBI actually means. It's got three key parts. First, there's commitment. That's the deep dedication to caring about the other person's well-being. Simple enough. Then there's benevolence. This is that natural kindness, the stuff you do for them willingly, without a second thought. And finally, the whole thing falls apart without interest. That's the real fundamental awareness and engagement a relationship just has to have to survive.
And this is the really crucial part. This isn't just some nice, poetic definition of love. The theory argues that CBI is literally built into us. It's part of our biopsychological hardware. It's there, ready to go pretty much from the moment we're born, because it's absolutely essential for us to survive and develop as human beings.
So once you start to grasp this, it really changes how you see yourself, especially that little voice in your head, the one that's always narrating everything.
Because the theory draws this super important line in the sand between two parts of you. On one side, you have the system. That's, well, all of you. Your entire biological, psychological self, the part that has preferences and actually does things. Then on the other side, you have the observer. That's the narrator, the voice in your head. And its job is to tell stories about why the system does what it does. But here's the kicker. The observer is not the boss. It's not in charge. It's just a product of the system. It's like a press secretary trying to explain a decision that was made in a meeting they weren't even invited to.
These old optical illusions are a perfect example of this in action. What do you see here? A vase? Or two faces? A young woman or an old one? Your system, your brain, makes an instant choice. It constructs a reality for you. Then your observer, that narrator, jumps in and creates a story about what it's seeing, totally convinced that its version is the one, objective truth.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that the narrator in your head is an unreliable narrator. The theory is very clear on this. Its reports about why you do things are always misleading and incomplete. It's a storyteller, making up plausible reasons for events it didn't cause and for decisions it had no part in making.
I mean, this reframes everything, doesn't it? Things like self-control, willpower, even personal responsibility. If the real you, the real driver, is this deep, unconscious process of emotioning, and that voice you identify with is just a storyteller who shows up late to the party, it leaves us with a pretty mind-bending question to chew on. If you are not your thoughts, then who or what are you?